Hello, hello, welcome, good afternoon. I am Tara Long. I am moderating. I have done some things in the industry, and we are going to learn some things today with this lovely panel. Um, right, so breaking through how to get your foot in the door. Interesting topic. I'm very curious about what they're going to say. So let's start by introductions. I don't know if you want to start, but yeah, introduce, tell them what you do, where you came from.
Okay. Hi, my name's Cariño. I go by Kate. I work for Space, 3 Points. I mostly do marketing and advertising, creative stuff for Floyd Ground and 3 Points. And I have my own agency, creative agency management, etc. And I throw the party Suero, which is also, I guess, more of an art collective these days.
Go, go. Hi, I'm Angie. I have experience in the music industry. I worked at Universal Music, Excel Recordings, and other indie labels. Right now, I have my own agency called Cariño, and I'm here to share some of that expertise. Okay.
Hi everyone, my name is Juliana, but a lot of people call me Juli. I have a lot of experience in communication strategy, event production, integrated marketing. I've worked predominantly in the entertainment industry, and right now I oversee Latin and electronic music initiatives for Red Bull nationally.
Hi, I'm Adrian, DJ, co-founder of Andrew's Skate Shop and other stuff around Miami. Yeah.
Great, let's give them a big round of applause. Okay, first up, we're going to talk about progress, how you came to get to where you are, and how progress isn't necessarily linear, like it doesn't just go straight up all the time. So I don't know if you each want to answer, if maybe one of you this resonates with you, but I want to know what are some defining moments that shaped where you are now, like what was your first major opportunity? How did you get it? How did you seek it out? How did you make it happen? Was there a moment when you almost changed paths, but then you kept going? What was a major risk you took in your career? How did it pay off? And if you were starting today in 2024, what would you do differently? If any of that resonates, just throw something out there.
I could start and just say that even in preparation for this panel, I was talking to Angie and a few other people, and I think that it's always important when you're thinking of like getting your foot through the door or whatever is consistency, drive, and passion, even if that means being annoying. I got all of my opportunities by being really, really annoying, by asking people over and over, hey, can I have this opportunity? Hey, where can I help? Hey, can I just do this? Can I do that? And to get to my job where I was today, I was DMing people for jobs. I was literally like, hey, check your DMs. Can I work for you? Like, even if they would ignore me, I would just like keep going, keep going, keep going. Going out, meeting people. I know that that one's like obvious and it's like, ugh, but it's really building that network. Yesterday, John said something really important, which is about like using the people, not using, but like your network is ultimately what will, or like your group of people that you work with are the people who will uplift you. So that kind of stuff I think was really formative for me. And I think when I finally got this job and I saw like the culmination of persistence and just being eager and willing to learn, I think was the main like formative thing that got me here. I don't know. The question was really loaded.
Just hang on to something.
Just hang on to something. Yeah, I think when you're trying to get your foot through the door, it's just like annoying to, or not annoying. It's important to stay persistent. Like, don't give up just because somebody didn't answer your email or whatever. Follow up with them. The worst they could say is no. Mm-hmm. And then you're like, okay, thanks. I'll follow up in a year.
Yeah, I agree with you. The first big break for me was when I decided to have an internship in New York, and at the time, no one had really guided me. I didn't have like a group of people that were like, "Oh, this is the steps that you take to do that," and I just wrote it in my calendar. Like in 3 months, I'm going to New York in an internship. I had no idea, and I applied to over 70 internships. I would get weekly rejection emails. No, thank you. No, thank you. No one, no one, like rejection every week. And I got one yes from Chanel, and like essentially emailed the HR person every week until she gave me another interview. And then I told her, I'm going to be in New York this week if you want to meet in person. I didn't have a flight. So I think that the most important thing is to kind of like be risky, like do risky things, you know? I was not going to be in New York, and I just said, I'll be in New York, and then I had an in-person interview, which gave me the opportunity to have that internship and then have another internship at Excel, which ended up being like the route I took. I ended up taking music. But if I wasn't really eager to do that, I would have never gotten in through the door. And the majority of the kids in that internship were given that internship. They had a dad, an uncle. You know, obviously it's really important to use your network, as Kate said, but also figure out ways, like get rejected, like fail. Like the most important thing is to fail, because if not, you don't know what route to take. And those failures lead you to a success, in my opinion.
I guess for me, it's a little different because I started as a DJ, and so I started DJing when I was 17. And at the time, really the only way to get gigs was just to go places. But everything is 21 and up. So you would just kind of have to like show up and hang out outside of clubs for like a while, you know, and then eventually like you hang out at the right spot, somebody will take a liking to you and your friends. You just like keep going back, and yeah, it's really about persistency. The first place I ever DJ'd at was this club called Purdy Lounge back in the day in Miami. That's closed now, but yeah, R.I.P. Somebody was like performing that night, and I really wanted to go. And I asked the dude who was throwing the party, this guy Joel Meinholz, like a pro skater legend, and he was like, "Oh, you DJ, right? Just open for free." And I was like, "Dope." And I basically DJ'd for free there for a year, and I loved it. I think for me that was a really big thing, because getting the chance to DJ anywhere for like 2 people, 100 people is like a huge deal. And I didn't really care about getting paid, and kind of like consistently showing up to that gig and meeting other people allowed me to like start getting real gigs where people were like paying me. And eventually I was throwing my own parties around the city, which led to kind of like my path to owning Andrew, the skate brand, and a bunch of other stuff I got going on. I think the key thing is really just being persistent and being available to people, you know, like hit them up, talk to them. If somebody needs you to like run a flyer, run a flyer. Like if somebody needs you to do some shit for free and like life affords you to do it, just like do it. As long as you respect what they do and you like what they're doing and you could see yourself being in that realm, that's kind of like what I would say I did to get going. Yeah.
All right, so not to repeat what everyone has been saying, because very, very valid, and I think it is like some of the key markers, but I think it's also very important to remember that timing also has a lot to do with it, right? I don't think people like to really think about that, because it's something you can't control, right? I got an opportunity to start working for a PR agency as an intern when I was in high school, because my cousin was the one that was looking for an intern, right? So I was very lucky in that the timing of that worked out for me. Now, I think everything that everyone here has mentioned is what allowed me to grow in my career: the hard work, the networking, the consistency. Just because you get an opportunity once, your path is not linear, right? Like there's gonna be ups and downs, and you have to know that that's what comes with creative fields and work in general. So I think timing is also very important. Like be patient with your journey. Just because things are not happening when you think they should happen, everything aligns when it should, right? Like he was like, I happened to be at the right time at the right party when they asked me to open for free. So it's like you gotta just like be patient in your journey and maintain that consistency.
And if I can add also, I think it's really important. We're like technically in the entertainment music industry. It's really important to show personality, you know, and not be scared to like be yourself in front of people, like some people are not gonna fuck with you, but other people will respect or you'll catch the attention by just like having some personality, like being able to be yourself. And especially at the beginning, that's how like honestly, that's how you get the attention of the older people that are running kind of the places that you want to be involved in, you know?
True. Okay, just to break it down, we got be annoying, lie, break the law, and be in the right place at the right time. Have a good personality. So just take those notes, because that's real. It does take a little magic, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
And okay, next question. Y'all landed the opportunity, that's one thing. Now we're gonna talk about how to be ready when you get that opportunity, because that's a whole other thing. Like you said, you know, you were like, I'm gonna come through, I'm gonna be in New York. You didn't have the plane ticket, but you knew you were gonna get that plane ticket. So, you know, and within that question, what is a skill or trait that you wish more young creatives had when starting out? What are the biggest mistakes young creatives make when given their first real opportunity? Again, just if you feel something, take it, hold it. When hiring or working with new talent, what makes someone stand out to you? And can you recall a time when you saw someone create their own opportunity instead of waiting for one, and what did they do right?
I think the it's harder to like do it than to say it, but it takes a little bit of fearlessness because like for example, when I did that first DJ gig, like I sucked, you know, and like you will suck. Like you absolutely will suck.
It is okay to suck.
And you have to like learn, and this is just, you know, this is from my perspective as a DJ, so I can't really relate as like other parts of this, but you will suck and you have to suck less and less each time until you're good enough to like make the most of the opportunity. But all these are like learned experiences. Like nobody is born being really good at what they do unless they are, and then they're like obviously really good at what they do. But for the most part, all of us learn that over time through experiences. And most of us do make that opportunity for ourselves unless we're just like in a position where we're just given stuff, which some people are, and that's fine. But most of us are not. So you kind of just have to like, yeah, show personality, be fearless, and know that it's okay to suck if your intent is to like be objective about sucking and wanting to get better and better every time, you know, like, yeah.
All right, that was a lot of questions, but one that stuck with me was when looking to like hire someone or bring on someone to the team, like what is it that stands out? I think just kind of like continuing your frame of thought. Don't ever be a know-it-all, right? Like no one, like have that eagerness to learn. I think like one of the most appealing things for me to bringing someone onto my team or to a project is that, hey, I'm really confident in these skills that I have. I know that maybe this is the full scope and I don't know these things, but I'm really willing to learn and I'm here to put in the work, right? I think a lot of young people, from what I've seen, there's like always something to prove, right? And that's okay, right? Like you should be confident in your vision, in what you're trying to achieve. But there's always room for improvement and there's always room for growth. And I think just like doing everything with integrity as well, like being a yes person, I think that really helped me in my shift from doing a bunch of communication strategy and then I just couldn't write one more press release for the life of me. And I really just wanted to shift into event production. And yes, I had a network, but I didn't really have all the properly honed in skills to do, you know, the size of projects that I'm doing now. So I started taking PA work, you know, stuff that was way below my pay grade and way below all these titles that I had had at one point in, you know, the communication world that I was in. And that was okay because I was doing everything with so much passion and integrity, and the work speaks for itself, right? So you don't have to come into a place trying to like prove yourself through words. Like how you work and how you approach what you do is going to speak volumes, right? And I think for me, it's like getting your foot through the door starts with networking and consistency, but the way you show up to do things, it's what gets you a seat at the table. And that's where you're trying to be, you know?
That's very true. I agree with that. To add to that, one of the questions was what skills are like lacking. I can speak for myself and what skills I thought I was lacking in retrospect. I think being a bit organized and strategic is important when you start off. Like if you want to accomplish something, just it sounds simple, but just having an idea of where you really want to get to, like where are you heading, and being organized to be able to accomplish and show up and do the right work. Because if you get the gig and then you don't do a good job, it's gonna show. I think that comes with organization. It comes with understanding what you can do. Also, I think what happens, and it happened to me, you get the job and you run and you do the most that you can, and then you expect a specific type of reward, right? And that expectation it's not that it's wrong. Like I think we should all get paid fairly, and that comes with the territory in the long run. But you are kind of showing your worth, and that part of showing your worth, I think sometimes in this generation we kind of are a bit entitled. We're like, oh, but I've worked and I've done this and I've done that. Like I deserve to get this payment, and I agree with that to a certain extent. Like we have to you kind of gotta work a little hard and struggle a little bit, like to show your. It's unfortunate, but this is what I feel now. Like you kind of have to work and do the grunt work to then get to the final, or like another step in your career, and that's important. Yeah, like the glamour, and the glamour is not that glamorous either. Like
Word.
I work with artists all the time. I'm like in the Latin Grammy and and it's not glamorous at all. It's 14, 15-hour days. Everyone treats you like shit, and you're like, I should get paid better. I should do this. I should do that. It's like, yes, but also, had I not done this 4 years of like really intense work, no life, I wouldn't be here with more experience and more confidence. So I think like organization, being hardworking is gonna, be the end all. Like John yesterday said something incredible. So John killed it. He said, "Don't make shit your diet."
No, he said, be prepared to eat shit, but don't make shit your diet.
And the way that you don't make shit your diet is by just working hard and practicing. You're not born knowing the thing. You gotta practice. You perfect it, and then you earn a new skill, and that's the thing. So organization, practice the skill you want to become perfection at, then learn a new skill, and then you're unbeatable.
I think you guys said everything I would have said, so we can go on to the next one.
Yeah, thick skin. Just be ready. Don't come with confianza attitude. Like leave that at the door.
Stay ready so you don't have to get ready.
That's right. Okay, for the next taco burrito loaded question. Thank you, ChatGPT. Okay, so getting in the door is just the start, as we've been talking about. And we kind of dipped into this, but let's really get into what it takes to stay and to grow and how to be persistent and adapt and what is the right mindset. Again, we already talked about just like not coming with that know-it-all attitude. How do you stay motivated? How do you stay disciplined? Are you disciplined? Especially when the work is not exciting and you're not like doing the top of the thing that you want to do. And let's see, what's important here? How do you balance the creative passion with the practical realities? I feel like nowadays people have to like be the creative and then be the manager and then have your social media thing going on and then do some other promotion and go to networking and blah, 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 blah. Like, how do you deal with all of that? And how do you stay open, this one's important, to criticism and feedback without taking it personally? That's a hard one for people. And, there's feedback that comes in the wrong package, and that's one thing. But how do you figure out how to listen and not just always speak?
I can definitely speak on the topic of discipline. I think I've been in my career now for 6 years, and during the entire time, I've had like this full-time job with the club, while also trying to like further my personal projects. I think a lot of the people who work in creative industries have like their own side thing plus like their full-time thing, or they have like a million projects or whatever. Um, and sometimes that like consistency, persistence, drive, whatever doesn't exactly look linear. And so it's like having to do these like sacrifices to like put your stuff aside to like do the other things. And I think staying on top of learning and being sharp and at the top of your thing ultimately like refines everything that you do, even if you're not like super focused on the one thing that's like your passion. Like if you refine everything else around it, it'll like almost sharpen the pencil all the way around so that everything is refined, if that makes sense. I don't know. And I think discipline in terms of like staying on top of really small I have like really bad ADHD. I know everyone says that, but like I'm not a person who can be consistent about anything, or I haven't been able to. And now I've been trying to do like little things like having the same routine in the morning so that it doesn't break, and then that bleeds into like the rest of my day. Or like I haven't eaten candy in 50 days, which is like huge deal for me. And those little like discipline, consistency things for me have refined even like down to my practice, like my art. Um, so I feel like that's good advice. Like even things that you think are really small and menial, like it fully like rounds out the rest of your things, if that makes sense. Oh wait, what was the last question that you said also?
We were talking about like a criticism.
Oh yeah, I also wanted to say something about that because I'm someone who takes criticism sometimes really roughly. And it's something that in retrospect I always like end up cooling down and being like, oh, okay, fine. But it is important to remember, especially I think in our industry, that's like we're making things for other people. You have to remember that the critique like isn't for you; it's for the better of whatever your final product is, which ultimately is to benefit like a whole room of people. It's not just about you ever. So that's something that you always have to remember. Like this isn't about you, and like even if it is your practice or your job or whatever, it's not about you. You're serving other people, and that's like the beauty of it for me, at least. Like I find that to be like the most satisfying part of the whole thing. Like you get this whole entire group of people together, one goal, etc. So you just have to remember it's not about you, and it never was.
Do you mind repeating the first question, the start of the question?
No, for sure. It's basically like after you get in the door,
Yeah.
like how do you stay persistent and grow and have the
Okay.
right mindset and stay motivated and disciplined.
Okay. I'll speak to specifically when I started at Universal. A major label just takes your life. It feels like it takes your life, so it did because I wanted to prove myself. I think that the way I stayed on top of the 20 artists that I had to manage and work was making sure that I did something for them every single day. So every single day, even if they were not an active artist, which means that they were releasing music, I was like, okay, let me make sure that I've checked in on them. How are they doing? What's going on with your project? Have you gone to the studio? If I have my 7 active artists, I make sure I hit them up and I'm like, what is the campaign that I'm running this today? I hit up the audience growth. Like, what's going on? I check the data. So I would wake up every morning, 7 a.m. or 9 a.m. depending on like how late my night was prior, and like I would look at all the data like right off the bat in bed and like what's going on in the world of my releases, and then like I had a specific routine to make sure that like I didn't neglect anything because that's the role of my job, you know. So depending on what you do, like start your practice with like some level of analysis, right? Like if someone depends on you, if something depends on you that you're rolling out, have like a list of things that you check on every single day, because if that's in my perspective the only way to not fall, especially when you're doing productions and things like that. I think it could be so overwhelming, but if you spread it out in small tasks, it becomes quite easy to manage, and especially because then it becomes like routine that every morning you do certain things. So like on Fridays every week I would do like a full rollouts of like what the artists are doing and so on. So that's my big thing. Like don't let things fall through the cracks. Make sure that the small things are getting done so you could work on the big things and enjoy the big things.
I think for me, the ability to stay consistent and grow in creative fields, whether you're on more of like the business side or if you're an artist making music, whatever it is, I think it's definitely changing the perspective of this like very glamorized career path. Like creativity is work at the end of the day, whichever spectrum you're on the side of. And sometimes, you know, it's really thrilling and exciting, and you're seeing all these visions come to life. And sometimes you're behind a computer making a fuck ton of decks, you know, and presentations for the corporate ladder. And that's okay, right? Like, that is part of the spectrum of what you have to do. So I think, you know, there's monotony and mundaneness as well when it comes to creative life and creative roles and fields. And having that perspective will definitely keep you there, because you understand that this is just one portion of it. But what keeps that force is your passion for what you're trying to achieve and that vision that you're trying to bring to life. So I think definitely changing that perspective. If you haven't read this book, I need everyone to write it down, and it's called The Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. And it's all about a creative life and just like a perspective shift on whatever side of you know, if you're making music or if you're trying to become a writer. I think something that's like, not to kind of deviate too much, but a lot of artists put financial burdens on their creative life, right? Especially too soon. You gotta let that creativity breathe a little bit, and you won't be the first and you won't be the last creative that has a job that is going to pay for your bills.
Yes,
right?
yes, girl, yes.
Like it's and I think, you know, there's kind of like this narrative that has been built through society of like the struggling artist or the martyr creative, right? Where you're just like struggling through life because you're trying to make ends meet through your art. Like that is a mistake on your part for your art, right? Like you're going to burden your capability to keep creating because you're putting this like scrutiny on your inspiration, on your source, right? So I think that's like super important on like how to stay consistent as well. There's plenty of people that I know in this room that are making music and have a full-time job. And on the weekends, they're in the studio 12, 13 hours, Saturday and Sunday, right? Like, is your devotion to your craft that strong that you are willing to do both of these things at the same time? So I think that that perspective shift is really going to help you show up every single day, even though it's not the most exciting thing that you have to do when you gotta pull up to bartend, you know what I mean? Because you really want to make music. So I think that, and there was something else at the end. I don't know.
Maybe the criticism thing.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
and I think Gata said something really important on like how to take criticism. Please read this book that I'm telling you about. When you make something and you release it out into the world, two things happen. One, it's no longer yours, right? There's a piece of you that goes along with it. But two, it's the game that you're playing. You are making things for people. That like critique will always come, and that's just not. I mean, that's some presentations I've given on a strategy for emerging artists, and you know, they've been like, yeah, no, I don't think so. Okay, but why? I think the most important thing with critique is take what matters, let go of the rest, and keep going. Make more art. Think about more strategies. Like, don't harp on, oh, but it's an ego thing, right? When you're like, oh, but it's about me, and they didn't like this about me, and no, it's not about that.
They
'Cause
don't get
also-
me.
What?
They don't get
right,
me.
Right. It's like all these like little ego things that come into play, but if you have that growth mindset, there's always something to improve and there's always something to learn. So you gotta just kind of check your ego a little bit there. Yeah, it's the attitude thing when you're approaching like new spaces. Like the work will speak for itself. Like you don't have to carry a chip on your shoulder and immediately come into a place or into a space to try and prove something. Like your work will speak for itself.
I think actually a lot of it to kind of encompass everything she said, comes down to like honesty with yourself. You know, when you like look at what you're doing and you think that you belong in a place, you have to like objectively look at yourself and like your work of art or whatever it is that you're doing and be like, am I doing this the right way that I think I should get what I deserve? You know, if every day you wake up and you have like an honest mindset about what it is that you're pushing, whatever product it is that you're pushing, if you feel really good about it, then criticism, it can, you can either only take it in stride or it can just not bother you because you know you're being honest about what you're doing. And I think honesty was something that took me a while to learn because, you know, by the time I was like 23, 24, I was honestly making so much money DJing that I didn't know like how to like perceive what my work actually was or what my skills actually were because I was basing it off like the money I was making or the life I was living or whatever, as opposed to like looking in the mirror and being like, all right, is this what I really want to do? Is this how I really should do what I'm doing? And once you kind of like are in tune with yourself from like an honesty standpoint, you can really make all the decisions you want to make and not have it really impact you, you know, the way criticism can impact you, the way like the pressures of your job can impact you. If you try something earnestly and honestly, it either works or it doesn't, but you know that you went about it the most like capable way that you personally could. And you know, my business partner Press is back there with Andrew, but we talk about this all the time, how people will submit designs for like gear that we put out. And, you know, 9 out of 10 times we'll be like, no. And we're not saying no because it sucks. It's just like, we want you to keep going. You know, you have to like keep going till you find something that actually fits. And a lot of time, like, we say no to ourselves, you know, 99 out of 100 times. And if you can be honest with yourself and be like, yeah, this song I just did, it's not right. Like, it needs more, it needs best. Or you're like, all right, this is actually exactly right. It will find like the place that it needs to exist in, you know? And that applies, I think, to like, from creative to business, you know, like whatever it is that you do, if you're really honest about it, a community will attach itself to it and you guys can like grow and build together. But if you don't put out an honest product, I think most people with the experience can see through it and push it aside. And I think that that is really like the basis of criticism when whatever it is that you're putting out there reaches the person you want it to reach and the response is not the one that you expected, you have to generally look at yourself and be like, did I really do what I needed to do to get this opportunity? I remember when, this is like a really long time ago, but I remember when I was, you know, really wanting to be like a top DJ type dude. I wanted to play this like one specific club and I like harassed the dude and finally he let me and I sucked, you know, and I didn't get a call back for like a year and a half. And I remember going home that night and being like, I fucking sucked. Like I should have really thought this through. I really should have done that. And I wasn't honest about like where I was as opposed to like where I wanted to be, you know? And if you can look at yourself honestly, you don't have to worry about like all the other stuff. Things just naturally come to you. They really do. In my experience anyway.
Yeah, I feel like there's this gap. Somebody said this, but I don't know who, between your taste and like your abilities, and you're constantly trying to like close that gap, which is an interesting journey.
Yeah, I mean, like there's music that I love and I tried producing and I was like, oh, dope, I could do this. And I couldn't, you know, but you have to like look at that and be like, all right, this actually takes so much work that I know that I could do, but I'm actually just not willing to do it. And a lot of times, like, you have to know what you're not willing to do because that is what separates you from the place you think you want to be. You know, the difference between like you and whatever the artist that you like aspire to be compared to or whatever the entrepreneur you aspire to be compared to is really like shit that they're willing to do that you're not willing to do. That's really what it comes down to. And it's okay to not be willing to do stuff. Like, I honestly, there's a lot I'm not willing to do, which is why, I wake up every day and I look at what I got going on and I'm like, do I really want to do this? No. So I don't do it. Or do I really want to do this? Yeah. All right. So let's go do the bullshit I got to do to like make that happen. And sometimes the bullshit sucks. But, if it makes you happy, whether it's like financially or whether it's a respecting or it's good for your soul, there's really like no wrong answer in that either. Sometimes you're motivated by things that other people won't understand, and that's okay. Like if you're motivated by money through creative endeavors, like if you can make that happen, you're like part of the 0.01% of historical figures that can make that happen. And you shouldn't feel bad about that. Whatever it is that your like desire and path is, you have to be honest with yourself and be like, all right, this is what I want to do. That's how I want to do it. Boom, I'll do it,
Yeah, please don't be allergic to money. Those artists, I used to be one, I'm not gonna lie. They're just like, oh my God, like everyone's obsessed with money. Like, yeah, bitch, we're in the simulation that's all about money. Like, you're gonna need that shit. Take a shower, get
You're gonna
over
need it to do all the stuff that you want to
Yeah,
do.
dude.
Unfortunately, sorry,
Yeah,
that's
sorry
the cheat code.
if that's
Yeah,
you. Just
Even if it's not your money, that's a whole other thing. Go get
Yeah,
someone
go
else's
find the
money, to do
money.
it. Go find
Go
the money.
find the money.
I just want to be clear. I don't mean to like say right. Like what I'm saying is like ultimately, find what makes you happy and be honest about how you're gonna get there, and you'll be fine. Like just don't be a bad person in your general community, and whatever it is that motivates you, like no one will judge you for it. You know what I mean? Like there's contemporary DJ friends of mine that I know what they want to do and how they want to get there, and I look at what they do and I'm like, that's gross. But then I'm also like, damn, but shout out to him or her, like they really did it, or them, whatever, like sick. And I don't judge them anymore because I know that they're earnestly and honestly going about what it is that they're doing. So if you approach it that way, you kind of lose the judgment of like what everyone's got going on, which is really important in all these like creative subcultural endeavors, honestly, from music to brands to, I mean, like even restaurants and nightlife now have crazy cultural and branding components. So it's like everything, it just has to be honest. That's the only thing that matters.
I think people can tell more than ever when something's authentic or not. And if you can't, then like, I don't know, you're part of like The Sims. Like, I don't, but like for the most part, everyone's like looking for this authenticity, even if it's not like their own, like you can feel it. So when I know that we keep on saying like, be honest, be authentic, be genuine, but like it's true. Like that's really what makes you stand out because everyone's version of that looks different. So when you actually do the thing the way it's supposed to be done by you, like people can, it's what makes you stand out ultimately. Yay, full circle.
Yay. Yeah, you really got to put the blinders on. I think we're talking about it like, be true to yourself, but like it's actually really fucking hard. Like art is hard. It's not easy, regardless of what people say. Like, fuck what everybody else says. You have your own path. Like, please listen to yourself. And just to tap on the criticism thing, I just want you all to just turn on your like computer brain and take all information, feedback, and criticism as data. You read it. And like you said, you toss what you don't need, you keep what you need. It's about the work. The work is not you. It's something separate. You do what the work wants. You ask the work what it wants. What do you want, work? What do you need? And you give it to the work. And with that, does anyone else have any final comments before we go to questions?
Oh, yeah. I think you have to, regarding criticism, you have to also really recognize when the criticism is also coming from an honest place. Like it's really important to get caught up with like hearing different opinions, and most of them also suck. So you have to just know who is being earnest and honest, and that's like really the number one skill. Like I wish I could like have more of and pass to other people is like knowing when to care or when not to care, because sometimes the criticism hurts, but it matters so much. And sometimes it's like, dude, shut the fuck up.
Yeah,
like,
you all have haters.
Yeah.
Don't listen to the haters.
Don't know anything about anything. So it's like you have to know when to gauge criticism.
I love that. I'm gonna add one more thing to that. Have a find a mentor.
It's so important.
Find like you know, the criticism, as Adrian said, which is very true, is like who's giving you the criticism. Like find, like in whatever field you want to do and whatever you want to go after, find someone that you value their opinion because of what they've done, that they're whatever they've accomplished, you find connection with, and share your work with them and say, look, this is where I'm gonna go. He also said the same thing, which is like your work is not always going to be perfect. Like perfection is not the outcome. It's just like getting better in your craft, whichever in what realm it is. So find someone in which you trust, find a group of mentors that you value, and build that. That's something you have to build on. You know.
Find a curious old head. You know, like look for old heads that are
That's
curious and will put you on. You know,
Yeah.
like if they're curious about your shit, that means that they don't come from a place of like bitterness or jadedness or whatever. They're like, oh, you're doing cool shit. That's cool. Like put me on. Put them
Yeah.
on. Let them put you on. Like
I just feel like that's important because, like, at least with what I've done, it's like anytime I try to put someone on, it just flourishes their career. They start somewhere else. Like, try to find someone that's gonna set you up to do certain things and that is honest with you, you know, and that you value their opinion.
Yeah, and I think just something important to remember that I like to remind myself, especially when I was kind of a loss in switching from like industries. It's rejection is just redirection, right? Like it doesn't mean that you're not good enough or your work's not good enough. It's just maybe that is not aligned with where you're meant to be. So I think keeping that top of mind and something that they were all saying made me think of one really important skill that I feel people in general lack, not just young people, but just humans overall, that I think is really important to develop is a listening skill, right? Like when we're talking about find a mentor, listen to critique, get feedback. Like what's the most important thing? Because you can receive all of this, but if you're not listening, if you don't really have the capacity to listen to what people are telling you, it's just gonna go in one ear and out the other, right? So I think really honing in on that skill will give you an opportunity to absorb, right, from those that have made plenty of mistakes before you and are kind of giving you a path, right? And I think overall, like, just take the time to absorb your spaces. I think this is more for people trying to go into like the behind the scenes type of work. Don't come into a place trying to make impact when you don't understand the environment and you don't understand the why behind the things the way they are. You can't break the rules if you don't understand them, right? So I think just take the time to listen and absorb and always be a learner and then come in to try and make impact. I would say those are my last words.
Okay, that's beautiful. Got there one last thing?
No, everyone said everything.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna go into questions. For the questions, I just want to give you guys one acronym based on what you were saying. I learned this in grad school. It's like the only thing I took out of it. Thank you for taking my $60,000. It's WAIT, WAIT, or WAINT, WAINT. Why am I talking or why am I not talking? When you're in a conversation, shut the fuck up. Think about it. Are you talking the whole time? Shut up. If you're not talking, why are you not talking? Say something. Take that. Questions. Right here.
Hello. So I have a question. I don't know what your name is. Yeah. All right. So it's me and Miguel, and we're both really annoying and persistent. And I asked what you ate for breakfast, and he asked what you ate for lunch, and like we're just really bothering you guys. What are you looking for outside of persistence, like somebody's background, like a style of music, like what are the other things that really kind of mark off some of your criteria
Are you talking like
For-
specifically?
for DJing specifically?
Okay, for DJing specifically, I mean, I work for a nightclub, so I guess I could say something, but definitely look at like what are the things that are like missing or what do I already have in my network, and if those things like do you fall into any of those pools, right? Because like if I already have like 1,000,000 tech house DJs, like I would need something from you to stand out, Or if you think that I'm missing some kind of like X kind of DJ, then like, okay, present that as like an opportunity. Like, oh, I don't see you booking any of X, Y, and Z. You know what I'm kind of saying?
No, that was
Also, when I say annoying, I know that sounds negative, but I just say it as like a funny, self-deprecating thing. It's not annoying, especially like, I don't know. I feel like I've transitioned from being the person being really persistent to now I have people that I feel like I mentor that were annoying to me, but they weren't. They were just persistent, and they were like, hey, like I really like what you do. Hey, look, this is what I do. Hi, like, do you have an opinion for me here? Like, being genuine like that in what you're trying to achieve and candid and like being direct with whoever it is you're trying to talk to, I think works best than like, hey, can I pick your brain? You know, like
Okay.
definitely being direct with whatever it is your goal is. There's nothing, at least for me, like when people are like, hey, can I pick your brain? I'm like, wait, what are you talking about?
It's sorry.
No.
I think, and this is just, I was or I guess I mean, I was a club DJ, so every lane is different. But I think the key thing, and it sounds kind of like crass, but it's just be useful. Like if you're coming to me and you want something from me clearly, which is to either a gig or to participate in the realm that I exist, it's make yourself useful. I mean, you can't carry crates anymore. This is not like the 2000s, but like figure out a way to be like useful. Now it might be like, yo, check out this song. You heard this record? Yo, boom, boom, boom. Like add value to somebody's like day-to-day life because you're looking to extract. And it's not that DJs are like this, like, nobody is trying to extract from me 24/7. But if I have something, or if I exist in a realm that you want to exist in, and you want to take something from me, let's share. Make yourself useful. Like,
Yeah, like
bring
symbiotic.
value to my life, so that I can give you a gig, so that I can be like, oh yeah, come open for me. Like that was cool. You did this for me. Like, here you go. And honestly, like, I used to have a party called Peach Fuzz that we started a few years ago, and this happened to at least a dozen DJs that are now like this is what they do for a living, that I would have come open for me. It was very much like, hey, at first they would come to my party and they would come with like 10 people and they'd be like, hey, like, one of these days, like I would love to DJ. And eventually, like, you do that enough, I'll be like, fuck it, I'll give you a shot. And then, sometimes you're good, sometimes you're not good. It could work out. But you added value to me. It gave me the desire to like now pay you back. It sucks to be transactional, but ultimately, like, this is kind of what it is. Unless you're my family or like my personal friend, like there's a wide array of DJs with high skill levels, low skill levels, all types of skill levels, and you have to find the place for you to exist. And for me, I have to want to give you that opportunity,
right. So just to get, oh, I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, I think maybe we can talk about it from like the brand side, right? Yes. So like add value, like, not to, our days are slammed all the time, right? So it's like if you're going to extract 30 minutes of my day, like do your homework, right? We get so many artists, consistently trying to work with brands, or let's say on the Red Bull side, right? Where sometimes I get these like 10 paragraph emails where I'm like, whoa, like I don't even, I'm so sorry you took this amount of time to write this because I don't even know if I have this amount of time to read this, right? And did you do your homework? Like sometimes I will, go through these like pitches and I'm like, there is nothing about your artistry, no offense, that resonates with the brand, like at all, right? And that's okay. You're not going to resonate with every label or every brand. So it's like, do your part in understanding what value you are bringing, because unfortunately, like he said, it is transactional at the end of the day, right? And so you got to do your part too. And I think that's just like on the artist side. And then, right now we've had a bunch of roles open at Red Bull actually. So my shit's been flooded with people like, hey, can I have 15 minutes of your time? Like, I want to know, like, okay, cool. I'll give you 15 minutes of my time, but make yourself stand out, like what Kate is saying. I had coffee with someone who was like, so can you just tell me about Red Bull? And I was like, what do you mean? Like what, right, like what, like my role, the company, like when it started, you know? Or there was another person I had coffee with, and she was like, yeah, actually, I went to that Red Bull Batalla event that you had last year in August, and then I went to that dance event that you had in October. I had no idea who this girl was. She's like, I've been dying to work at Red Bull for so long, so I've been going to all the events that have been in Miami to understand how the brand operates. Who's gonna stand out there, you know? So it's like just be cognizant of like how you're approaching, you know, people for opportunities and mentorships and all these things. Like do your part as well, I would say.
Okay, we have time for like one more question, maybe. This is the whole minute. Alexis, give it to Alexis.
Hello. So, any creative work revolves around deadlines. And I think that a lot of artists here hold on to their work until it's ready. And it's very difficult to advance in any career if you're just holding back because you don't think you're ready. How have all of you worked with meeting deadlines, getting things out that you weren't really comfortable with? Any advice to give to people to just push things out?
So I would say I had to kind of learn this the hard way as well. I think there's a creative aspect to mostly everything we do in life. For me, it was holding on to my visions and strategies for the department, the initiative, the project, whatever it was, until I felt that it was ready. And I realized that had a cause and effect to slow everyone else around me down, right? And it also, I wasn't operating from a sense of trust and confidence within my skills and my ability to communicate. And I also, it wasn't fair to those around me either, right? To be able to partake in the construction of this. So I would say, one, deadlines are super important, right? It's unfortunately what makes the world go round, and a lot of the things that you see happen. But also, like, bring in people into your process, because a different pair of eyes, a different pair of ears, and another brain will bring in a fresh energy and perspective that maybe you haven't seen, because maybe you've been working on this for months, right? You're staring at the same thing. You're like, I think it's ready. I don't know. So I think just like be open. And again, it's like what we've been saying this entire time, like be open to knowing that you could take from feedback and critique what you feel is honest. And there's always room for improvement. Nothing is ever going to be perfect either way even until the moment that it comes to life. There's always going to be something where like, fuck, that light should have been over there, you know? So I think just be confident in what you are bringing to the table enough that other people coming in is not going to be detrimental to what you're creating or to yourself.
Yes.
I've actually like never really had a job. I've never met a deadline. So I think no, I think but what I'm gonna get at is there are things that I fucked up by being the type of person that doesn't meet a deadline, and those are things that I retroactively understood I didn't want to do anyway. When you really, really, really want to do something, you will meet your deadlines, and sometimes even if this is like maybe the worst advice, but creatively, if you're really, 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 really holding it back that much, then you might actually not really, really, really be ready to put it out.
100%.
I don't know. I don't know.
I'm from both angles. Like I speak to artists who hold on to their work, and I'm like, I need your single. I need like what's going on. And then on my end, I also, similarly to Juliana and everything, like I hold things back as well. Like, you know, even in this, I sent the bio like super late. Like for context, it's like I'm still super last minute. I'm still like struggling with that. Like we all do it. Just because I've had this job doesn't mean that I'm like, oh no, deadlines. I hate them. They suck. I'm very spontaneous. I'm like, I like the in the moment thing, but if I don't set deadlines and I don't have people to hold me accountable, this agency that I open is gonna go like not exist. So it's really important for you to have your own set of expectations for yourself if you want to do something. Like you are the one holding yourself accountable to do the thing you want to do. If you don't want to do it, then I don't know, go surf. But if you want to do this one thing, if you want to be an artist and release music, if you hold on to your music, no one's gonna listen to it, and you're not gonna be an artist. So that's the result of that. If you want to work in a company, you want to be a creative, and you don't want to show your deck, then no one's gonna see it. Then you're gonna get fired. Like, it's very simple. Like it's black and white in that sense that you holding yourself back is only hurting yourself. And I think it's important to set yourself up. Like I said it earlier, the best thing people need is consistency. So you have to like calendar yourself out to do that in your own way. So I find my ways, and I have people to hold me accountable because I hate deadlines, but that's the way I do it.
Yeah, deadlines. Discipline, holding yourself accountable, making sure you have a team of people around you, whether it's your friends or I know I said the word network in the beginning, but I definitely meant to say community. Those people are really who are going to hold you down. Those are the people that you trust. Those are the people who are going to lend you a helping hand or give you really honest feedback. Those are the people who are going to come up with you. So I feel like that's really important to have people that hold you accountable. I think letting go is really important as an artist. I'm also somebody who, like Angie was saying, it's like dual. It's like I have my own artistry and my own practice, but I also work on like the business side of things, and like the importance of like knowing when something is ready. It's definitely an acquired skill. No one gets it 100%. You're never gonna know when something's perfect. Things actually aren't ever perfect, and if they are, you don't realize it until way later. So if you wait for that like perfect moment, nunca va a llegar. Like it's never gonna get there, and then you're gonna miss the mark, and then you're gonna regret it. So let go, let God, and have people around you who are like for real, gonna tell you the truth. Because those are the people who are gonna grow with you and like help you also grow into the person you are. This isn't an insular project. Whatever it is you're doing, I promise you, it's not by yourself. It requires much more than yourself.
Yes, and we are basically done, but I just want to add, like, yes, it's never going to be done. Just let it go. Also, in the beginning of your thing, like, only show it to the people that you trust and that are going to say yes. But at the end, when you're, like, about to release it, show it to the haters. Show it to the people that are going to talk shit, just to tweak those last details that you think, maybe they're right about that. And that's it.
Thank you, guys.